right, and it looks like we are live. Hello. All right. Hello, everybody on the YouTube world. Just give me a second so I can go ahead and start my other stream. Alrighty, so then here we are. Well, welcome everybody for coming to the 6 p.m. portion of my classes tonight. My name is Julia. If you have not taken any of my classes before, so welcome, and it is an honor for you to be here. Um, we're very appreciative for all that Adventure Rock is doing for the making sure that we have fit fitness at home. So yeah, before we start our practice, we want to make sure that we got some props available tonight. Specifically, what would help us with our practice today is if we brought some blocks to our practice. I always practice with 2 blocks, like old cans or cans that you have in your cupboard or peanut butter jars. That was a good suggestion in another video. You can also use a stool if you have a stool. I use my stool for the camera, so I can't provide that for an example, but if you have your own stool to come in, bring it to practice and have some fun with it. And always, I would recommend bringing a blanket because blanket's very good to support any of your joints, that need extra loving, and maybe like a little pillow. It's always when it comes to your yoga practice, we have our daily routine. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a minute or two to find your props and to set up into a comfortable spot. As well as this is a great opportunity for if you have your own music to go ahead and play whatever you would like for your home practice. So you can go ahead and set that up for yourself. Okay, it looks like we have a couple others joining in. So for those that are joining in the videos, blocks if you have them, like a pillow for support, blanket, and you will see my eyes kind of divert to different places here. I have a few streams going on so that everybody is able to have a practice with them today. So then as you go ahead and start to get settled here into your practice, today and throughout this week, with the classes that I will be providing, we will be working with the side body. Specifically, and I grabbed my book in case we need to have a little visual, just in case. We are going to be working a lot with some lateral flexion to the side body, because with the lateral flexion, for some of us that are either working long hours in an office setting at this time, or just in general, or are at home for the Safer at Home Act, and we're probably going to be sitting on our couches for good periods of time, maybe catching up on some shows or just some general relaxation if this is the time for you to do that, or so just in case, I provided a class to work with the side body for the fact that once we start to sit a lot and get very sedentary into our workspaces or at home, we tend to kind of lose some flexibility and stability into our trunk, specifically in our lumbar pelvic region. So what the side flexion practice will help us with is to improve our lumbopelvic stability, as well as try to relieve some of that lower back pain from being sedentary, because with an unstable lumbopelvic area, we could develop some acute lower back injury, as well as maybe some sharp lower back pain from lack of movement. And then for some of us that may have some spinal disc degeneration, that could potentially be an issue for some of us if we sit in a long period of time without having a lot of movement. And that could also be an effect of having air muscles not being compensated enough, like having tightness or weakness possibly into the erector spinae, which is your spine, or maybe in your obliques, which is what we're going to be working with today. And just to give you a little visual of what I'm talking about and what we're going to be working with, is that we're going to be finding a lot of space here into the erector spinae, which is just another word to say, the muscles around your spine. And for some of us are like, okay, well, where are our obliques? Where are our abdominals? This is a good visual of where our obliques will be located, but on a deeper level here today. Going on to the next page is, where are we? There we are. So we got our external obliques. There we are. Over here in the number 2, which is going to be around the rib cage over here. And then we also have the internal obliques over here where number 6 is. And then in general, with our abdominals being the front of our trunk. And we're going to explore gaining a little bit of strength into these areas, as well as finding some space so that we can provide that space for our trunk that supports our body. It also helps us to create some space so that we are able to breathe more and open up from our rib cage. That's where our lungs are. So it creates some room for us to have deeper breath here. And so specifically, that's what we're going to be working on today. I wanted to dive a little bit more into the anatomy part of it. And if you have any questions, you can ask me after class, and I can go more in depth with it without getting into a huge anatomy class at this moment. Yeah. So wherever you are at in a comfortable position, if you already are starting to feel some tightness into your lower spine, you can go ahead and grab your blanket or possibly a block to put underneath your sitting area, so we can allow our spine to be nice and tall and stable here. And as we create this length into our spine, create a very minimal tailbone tuck. To get a deep inhale, bringing your shoulders all the way up to your ears, and exhale, rotate them back and down, allowing your chest to be upright and a little forward here, almost like you're trying to portray a confident chest. Having the base, the back of your crown, elevated towards the ceiling. And allowing yourself to center yourself, deepen your breath. As you inhale, allow the full expansion of your ribcage to be present. And as we exhale, allow it to naturally decompress. And with the spinal opening, it's really great for our ribcage to find this opening and deepen our breath, because we tend to have shallow breathing throughout our days on top of our shoulders. And if we don't experience our full breath, then we're not able to relax the muscles. We're not able to dive deeper within our physical body, as well as it could cause a stress response as we go up through our days if we don't fully experience a full breath. So then as you start to sit here and ground through the breath, just remembering that yoga and for life itself, it is movement. That when we move on our yoga mats, that we open our bodies and we celebrate the fact that we are embodied beings, and within and without, and that we are pulsing with movement, the flow of our breath and the flow of our blood, the placing of our hands and our feet on the mats, and the arranging of our limbs with the shifting of our weight. Throughout our movements, we create connections in our bodies from the top to the bottom, to the front and back. And our movements may be strong and muscular, delicate and graceful, sinuous or abrupt. Our bodies are in a constant state of motion, and through our yoga practice, we begin to move in a more conscious and articulate way. Words by Susanna Rubin. So as you begin to ground yourself here, just taking some mental notes throughout our practice that as we move through our alignments here, making sure that when we are seated, we are even with our hips and with our knees to keep us stable. So as we practice this movement with our yoga, we can go ahead and take our palms out to the side and take a deep inhale, bringing our arms up to the ceiling. And then as we exhale, bringing our palms to the heart center. And then from here, you can go ahead and set an intention for your practice today, whatever got you on your mat. So then as we're here in our sitting position, go ahead and take your palms out to the T once more. Inhale, rise, bring your arms up towards the ceiling. And then flipping the palms down and exhale, release, palms towards the floor. And go ahead and find this movement 3 more times. Keeping the chest lifted as you go through your breaths here. And making sure that as we rise with our arms, that our shoulders are still away from our ears, so we're not hunching up. We're just finding this movement with our shoulders engaged into the girdle. Deepening the breath, creating that space in your ribs and your lungs. Good. And then for the next breath, if you have done 3, you can go ahead and bring your arms back up to the ceiling and take 3 to 5 strong breaths here, making sure that our arms are straight, the shoulders are in the girdle, and bringing the fingertips towards the ceiling. Being nice and active, we can start by finding some minimal engagement into our core here. Making sure that we are keeping our trunk stable as we breathe. As we are creating this fire into our arms, this nice heat. We can keep the left arm towards the ceiling and bringing the right palm to the mat, and to begin our side bend practice. Let's go ahead and lift up through the chest as we inhale, and as we continuously find this lift, start to bend over towards the right side. So we don't want to hunch, we don't want our arm to come crashing down in front of our face. We're going to have it nice and extended towards the ceiling as we start to bend to the right side. Maybe applying some attention to our right hand to keep this bend and lifting up through the chest so that we're not just collapsing into the right ribs here. And then if this is especially tight for you today, you always have the option to take your hand behind your head, keeping your elbow up towards the ceiling and a little bit towards the back of the room so we can keep that chest open, simultaneously pressing your head and your hand into one another. Hips are even and square here. 2 more breaths. Wonderful. If your arm is bent, you can go ahead and start to stretch to the right side once more. And on the inhale, we're going to rise, bringing both of our arms towards the ceiling, and then lower your left arm. Reach your arm towards the ceiling, chest is lifted, and inhale, start to side body bend over towards the left side. Again, opening up through the chest so the arm goes towards the back of the room. Finding length into your chest as we bend over here. And maybe taking the eye gaze up towards the hand if that's an option to get a little more to the side body and to encourage you to keep your chest open. You always have the option to place the hand behind the head. Wherever you're at, go ahead and take 2 more breaths. And then inhale, bring your both arms towards the ceiling. And then Clamshelling the hands together, bringing the hands behind the head, lifting up through the chest. Shoulders are in the girdle and in place. Engage in the core. Inhale, take the elbows towards the front of the room here. Creating a little bit of that engagement into the back core here. So engaging through the spine, chest is forward, and the shoulders are back here. 3 more breaths, nice and strong. Good. And then on the next breath, keep your hands together, but create the Kali Mudra or the gun, little gun shape, and bring it up towards the ceiling. Keeping ourselves rooted here, we're going to go to some side bends once more. But from here, our shoulders are going to be in the girdle, our chest is going to be lifted, arms towards the back of the room, neck is soft. Then inhale, lift up through the chest, or start to go over towards the right side of the room. And this one's going to be a little bit more challenging, and you're probably going to feel your left knee or your left hip wanting to rise off the ground. But keep that intention of rooting it towards the mat here, with a sitting bone as well. Good, so that we can get some good foundation into the side stretch. 2 more breaths. Good. Inhale, bring the gun back up towards the ceiling. And as we exhale, shift the side body over towards the left side. Keeping the lift through your chest as we bend. Arms are straight and towards the back of the room. Root through the right knee and hip. 2 more breaths. Good. And then inhale, rise, arms up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, release. Go ahead and swim out the shoulders here. Get some organic movement in. Okay. And then from here, we can go ahead and take the hands to the knees and inhale, shoulders back, chest forward into a cow spine. Maybe the eye gaze is up. And then on the next breath, coming into a cat spine, rounding through the shoulders. Maybe a chin comes to chest here. And go ahead and do this 2 more times for a total of 3. Inhaling into your cow, then exhaling into your cat. Good. Getting some spinal extension and flexion here to start. And then after your 3, you're going to create some more spinal movement coming into a twist. So from here, we're going to create the cactus arms, align with your shoulders. And when we move with our twist, we want to move starting from our lower trunk and then moving our way from the rib cage and up, so that we find the full range of motion in our spine. From here, lift up through the chest and start to twist by the stomach, low rib cage, full rib cage, and then the shoulders to the right side. Taking the left hand to the thigh and right arm behind. Keeping that lift into the chest, taking your eye gaze over the right shoulder for 2 breaths. Then after the 3rd breath, you're going to go ahead and take your eye gaze over the left shoulder, getting more into the spine. Shoulders are still away from the ears. And then inhale, rise, bringing the arms up towards the ceiling, back into cactus arms. Inhale, turn the low rib cage, full rib cage, chest to the left, and come into your twist. And after your 2 breaths, take your eye gaze over the right shoulder. And then inhale, rise, bringing your arms up towards the ceiling, back into cactus arms. And inhale into a cow spine, bringing your arms back, chest is up. Stay here for 3 breaths. And then after the 3rd breath, we're going to exhale, bring the forearms together, round through the shoulders, chin to chest, 3 breaths. Okay. And then you can go ahead and release and find yourself into a tabletop position. Good. And then as you find yourself into your tabletop position, let's go ahead and get our props ready. So you can take them to the front of the mat, both of your blocks or your stool if they aren't already there. Making sure that you have your blanket for some possible padding, starting onto the right side of the mat. And a pillow as well onto the right side, just in case if we need it. So as we come into this tabletop position, let's create great space between our hands and our knees here. The spine is nice and long here. And then to start, we're going to do 3 sets of cat-cows. Inhale around rotate the shoulders back, up through the chest, tailbone into cow. And then as we exhale to our cat, we're going to round through the spine, bring it towards the ceiling, chin to chest. Go ahead and do 3 more times. Or 2 more times, I should say, for a total of 3. Okay. And then as we finish our 3 sets, we're going to go ahead and come back into a neutral tabletop position. And then inhale, bring our left hip and our left shoulder to meet. 3 breaths. Good. Then exhale, release, and inhale, right hip to right shoulder to meet for 3 breaths. Good. And then coming back to the center. And then keeping your knees underneath your hips, we're going to walk our hands forward and coming into an extended puppy pose. So hips stay above the knees. Bring your arms forward and guide your chest towards the ground here. Ooh, that was my shoulder. That felt good. So the tailbone is up, guiding the chest down. And if you need a block to help support your head here, place it as a pillow, or even grabbing a pillow, you can go ahead and place it underneath your forehead here. Maybe hugging a little bit at the quads so that we can get a little hip hinge action going here. We're going to stay here for 3 more breaths. So then after 3 breaths, we're going to slowly round through the shoulders, coming into the cat position for 3 breaths, chin to chest. Good. And then coming back to normal tabletop position. So we're here in tabletop. You can bring your knees into the center and your feet to touch as well. So if you need to have some support or padding underneath your knees, you're more than welcome to grab a blanket if you need to. But from here, as we keep our knees right underneath our hips, we're going to bring our arms out to a Y here. And as we are here out into the Y, we're going to come a little forward. So it's almost like we are in into a supported plank. And as we start to engage through the core, we're going to inhale, bring the hips to the right side of the room, keeping the left arm straight, eye gaze over the left shoulder. Good. Then exhale, release. Inhale, bring the hips over to the left, eye gaze over the right shoulder. Good. Then exhale, release. And go ahead and do this for a total of 3 more times. So we got 4 going. Engage through the core. Actually, let's do 4 more so that it's an even 5. As odd as that sounds. Keeping the arms straight and using them as your momentum to help bring your hips side to side. Good. And after you've done your 5 on each side, you go ahead and find your supported plank, bringing your arms to the mat and your shoulders right above your wrists here. Find that core engagement. Good. 2 more breaths. Inhale, shift forward, keep the hips up, but bring the chest to the ground. And from here, inhale, come into a cobra position. Good. Leave with the chest forward. And then exhale, release. Curling the toes. Inhale, supported plank. Active child's pose. Bring the tailbone towards your ankles here. Making sure that your arms are active, feeling the space opening in between your shoulder blades. Tailbone is towards the back feet, towards the ground. 2 more breaths. Inhale, coming back into your supported plank here. Engage the core. Inhale, come to a full plank. Now really pressing your hands into the ground, shoulders right above the wrists. Fan out through the fingers. Engage through the quads. 2 more breaths. You got this. Good. Then inhale, shift forward, chaturanga, flip the feet into upward facing dog. Chest is forward, lead it forward, shoulders are back. Good, then exhale, bring the hips up into your first downward facing dog. And as you're here in this down dog, go ahead and pedal out one ankle at a time to the mat. Stretch up through the hamstrings. Finding a little bit of that quad engagement here, lifting up through the kneecaps as the legs are straight. Chest leading actively towards the ground, hollowing out through the lumbar spine. Tailbone up towards the ceiling. Good. We go ahead and bend the knees generously. Take the eye gaze forward. You can go ahead and walk to the front of the mat into your Uttanasana forward fold. As you are here into this forward fold, let's go ahead and grab our blocks here. And as we grab our blocks, maybe bringing them 6 inches or more in front of your feet. And as we bring our hips right above our ankles, we want to engage through the quads here and actively send the tailbone back. So if you need to adjust yourself, you can place your hands onto your shin. Tailbone is back and straighten out through the spine like you would almost into a cow spine. So bringing the chest forward, the tailbone back. Good. Just finding a good hamstring stretch for behind our thighs. Getting a better range for our hip hinge, as well as stretching out through the spine as well from our hips. And then from here, as we start to engage through the quads, you can then start to walk yourself down, leading your chest into that straight spine, finding the blocks here. Then as you find the blocks, you're going to press your hands into the blocks and actively bring your tailbone up towards the ceiling so we can get a better hip hinge. And for some of us, it may work as well as if we place our hands onto the mat. So if you have a greater range of motion into your hips, you can go ahead and place your hands onto the mat and push down to help stretch up through the hamstrings and through the spine. And if we don't have it, that's okay. That's what the block or the stool is for. Stay here for 3 more breaths. Each exhale, you find yourself getting deeper into your asana. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, forward fold. Palms to the side and inhale, hip hinge, rise all the way up into your high mountain. Maybe create a little back bend here. And then palms together, exhale, Samasthiti. Good. And create the Kali Mudra gun. And as we place our feet together here, we're going to inhale, rise, bringing our arms towards the ceiling. Maybe step a little bit back here. Good. And then as our finger gun is up towards the ceiling, shoulders are back. Press the feet together. We're going to inhale, start to side bend over towards the right side of the room. Good. So keeping your feet in place. Bringing the arms towards the back of the room. Keeping the hips square. If it feels good, you can bring the hips a little bit over towards the left side. Bringing your arms actively towards the right. 3 more breaths. Good. And then inhale, rise. Bringing the arms back up towards the ceiling. Taking 1 breath, inhale, stretch out through the spine, crown towards the ceiling, fingers up, and then start to exhale, side bend over towards the left side for 5 breaths. We're taking a lot of these movements gentle and graceful as we listened or read in the beginning of practice today, because we want to be kind to our spine, especially if we're feeling stiff right now. And then inhale, rise, bringing your fingers up towards the ceiling. And then from here, we're going to exhale, release the hands, hip hinge, forward fold. Hands onto the mat. Good. You can go ahead and step back into your strong plank position. Engage through the core. Shoulders above your wrists. 3 more breaths. Good. Then inhale, chaturanga, and then flip the feet into your upward facing dog. Chest is lifted. And then exhale to your downward facing dog. Hollow out through the spine, bringing the chest down towards the ground. Pedal out 1 ankle at a time. To get more into the side body, we're going to go ahead and place our ankles to the warrior feet, bringing the ankles towards the right side of the room, hinging at the hips, engage through the quads, bringing the chest down. Good. Inhale, lift up through the ankles, and bring it over towards the left side. So your ankles are on the warrior left side. We're going to go ahead, engage the quads by that hip hinge here. Good. Then inhale, lift up through the ankles, round through the spine into your plank. Chaturanga to the ground, flip the feet, inhale into your upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, exhale. Good. Bending through the knees generously, gaze forward, either hop, step, or walk to the front of the mat into your Uttanasana, your forward fold. Find your half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend at the knees generously, lift up through the chest. Then we're going to inhale, rise, bring your arms up into chair. Making sure that we see the top of our feet here. Good, engage through the chest as we lift our arms, maybe through the glutes. 2 more breaths. Inhale, rise, back bend. And then palms together, Savasiti, exhale, catch your breath. Inhale, squat into your chair here. Bring the tailbone back. And for a spinal twist, we're going to inhale, bring the right elbow to the left thigh, pressing the palms together, finding that lift through the chest, bringing the rib cage actively towards the left side. 2 more breaths. And then inhale, guide the palms to the heart center. Keep the quads engaged and exhale, twist to the right side, left elbow onto the thigh, pressing the palms together. Eye gaze up with the right elbow. 2 more breaths. And inhale, coming back into your chair. And then hip hinge, forward fold. Let's go ahead and grab the blocks if you have them. And then let's take our right leg back, coming into this running lunge position. Okay. And we have the blocks to support us so that we're not just struggling with our hands and finding some roundness to the spine. We want to find stability to make ourselves more stable into our lower trunk. So square through the hips, bringing your left hip crease back, your right hip crease forward. Let's go ahead and drop the right block to the flat level here. Make sure that your palm is nice and wide onto the block. And then inhale, turn your left rib cage to the left side, left arm towards the ceiling. As we start to engage through the quads and hug at the hips, we're going to bring our left chest actively towards the sky. And we can stay here, or if you would like to create some more heat, we can pendulum swing the left arm down to the front of the mat. And making sure that we are nice and strong into the right leg, into the left leg. We're not dipping into the hips, we're being active into the legs. 2 more breaths. And then we can exhale, release, re-squaring at the hips. We can go ahead and flip the left block down to the side as well. Or you have the option to place the right block in front of the inner arch of the left foot. We're going to go into a side bend here, so a side angle pose. So you can either have the left hand to the outside of the left foot, or for some more support and opening up through the chest, we can do it onto the inside of the left foot. So I'm going to go ahead and switch sides so you can see your foot. I'm going to choose the inside of the foot for this practice. Placing your right foot at the warrior diagonal, you're going to go ahead, open up the right chest to the right side, and inhale, bring the right arm towards the ceiling. Good, so we want to find this good connection of a flat foot straight all the way up to our hip, and with the right arm for the side angle, pendulum swing it down and bring it to the front of the mat, opening up through the chest. We don't want to find this huge arch into the side body. We want to be nice and strong, connected and straight here. Maybe the eye gaze up towards the right thumb. 3 more breaths. Good, keep that front knee bent. On the next breath, we're going to inhale, rise nice and strong into our warrior 2 here. And making sure that our left knee is still bent. We got the good connection with the right leg. Let's go ahead and slide the right hand down, flipping the left palm up, come into your reverse warrior. Good. Lifting up through the chest, and maybe taking the eye gaze over towards the back foot. Good, engage the core, and then inhale, come back into your warrior two. And from here, point both the toes to the front of the room, hands onto the hips here. Bring your hips back, hip hinge, forward fold into your wide-legged fold. And you can grab the blocks from your left foot and place it in front of your body here in this wide-legged forward fold. So if you can't get your hands down, you bring your blocks forward and press your hands into the blocks. Or maybe hands are pressing into the mat, maybe even behind your feet to help guide your upper body more towards the ground. So keeping the chest engaged and bringing it towards the ground. Tailbone is up, engaged through the quads. Take a few moments of breath here to this wide-legged forward fold. Through each inhale, we're going to find an extension through our spine. Exhale, getting deeper into the asana. Good. We're going to go ahead, hands to the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. And we're going to walk our hands over towards the left side of the foot or shin. Good. Getting a little more side body action here. Take in one deep inhale. And then as we exhale, release, come back to that forward fold, holding onto the elbows here and just rocking side to side. Using your feet as momentum for this pendulum swing. Good. And we're going to go ahead and inhale, bring our hands over towards the right shin or right foot. And grab onto it here for a little mini twist and side body stretch. 3 more breaths. Good. As we exhale, release, find that pendulum swing. And then we're going to find our blocks. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Let's go ahead and start to walk the blocks over towards the opposite side of the mat. So now our right foot is in front. Good. And we are finding that bend here in that running lunge. So from here, flatten through the blocks, lifting up through the chest. Find that spinal opening here. Chest forward. And then this time, flatten through the left palm. Inhale, right ribs up, side over here, coming to a running lunge twist. If you want to create more heat, you can pendulum swing your right arm down or bring it towards the front of the room. Engaging at the quads here to keep your hips stable. 2 more breaths. And then on through those 2 breaths, you can bring your right hand back to the right block. You can choose to bring your arm to the inside or the outside of the right foot, whatever is best for you. Placing your left leg warrior diagonal. And then inhale, rise, bringing your left arm towards the ceiling. Good. And then as we're here in this side angle prep, it might help if we press our arm and our knee into one another so we can get more opening through the chest. If you're looking for more of an opening, you could place a hand in front of the right leg so that we can get more depth into this twist. And then once you find that depth, you can then go ahead and pendulum swing the left arm down to the front of the room. All right, nice and active to the ceiling. Take 2 more breaths. And so as you exhale, bringing the arm down, lifting up. And then from here, actually, we're going to inhale, come into your warrior two. Nice and strong. Keep the front knee bent. Left foot warrior diagonal. And on your next breath, flip the right palm up and reverse your warrior. Sitting up through the spine as we stretch. 3 breaths. And then exhale, release into your warrior two. And then from your warrior two, we're going to go ahead, point the toes back to the wide-legged forward fold. Hands onto the hips and hip hinge, hands to the mat. Good. And then as we're here in this wide-legged fold, making sure that the blocks, that they stay on towards the right foot here. So as we're in this hip hinge, the hips are towards the ceiling, press the hands into the ground. Or if you wanted to, you could bring your arms forward and come into a fold like you would in a downward facing dog. And you can use your blocks for support here too if you need to. Walking your hands back underneath their chest. Good. We're going to place the left hand down, and we're going to inhale, rise, right arm, twist. 2 breaths. And the exhale, release. Inhale, rise, left arm towards the ceiling. And exhale, release. Bring the left hand back to the mat. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands back to the right foot. Find that bend into the right knee. We're going to take the back foot up, maybe about 2 feet up, coming into your pyramid legs here. So you come into your pyramid legs, you can grab onto the blocks here, press your hands into the block, keeping a figure 7 spine. Engage through the quads. Take a deep inhale, send your chest forward, tailbone back, and then on exhale, find a hip hinge here, getting more into the hamstrings, into your right leg. Good. Inhale, find that half lift. Exhale, forward fold. And then from here, we're going to bend at the right knee. And we're going to walk our blocks back over towards the left side, point our toes forward, coming back into that forward fold. Hands are onto the blocks, bring the blocks forward, coming into that forward fold, bringing the arms out like you would in downward facing dog. Tailbone is back, chest is down. Good. Inhale, halfway lift, and walk the blocks back into the front of the mat by your left leg. Keeping the leg straight, maybe bringing the right foot about 2 feet above. Coming into your pyramid legs, the left leg is straight. Your spine is straight here. Chest is forward. Taking about 3 breaths. Nice and active, hands pressing into the blocks. And as you engage through the front thigh into the back thigh, squaring at the hips. Inhale, guide your chest forward and come into a forward fold with your pyramid legs. The chest is leading. Out of the inhale, find a bend to the left leg, and then bring your right leg to meet the left. Exhale, forward fold. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. Then exhale, forward fold. Bending at the knees generously. Inhale, rise. Bring your arms up like you would in chair. And then all the way up towards the ceiling. Back bend if you wish. And the palms together. Exhale, Samasthiti. And then go ahead and find a hip hinge, forward fold, straight spine, hands to the mat. Let's go ahead and take our right leg back into that running lunge until the blanket will be at the right knee. Good. You go ahead and drop the right knee onto the blanket here. And flipping the top of the right foot to the ground, coming into your Anjaneyasana or prep legs. We're going to go ahead, lift up through the chest. I will bring the blocks to frame your left foot. Lift up through the chest. Fix your hips. And then as we start to warm up through the spine, let's go ahead, take our arms up into our full Anjaneyasana. Bring yourself forward here, opening up through the chest. Good. Nice. And then exhale, hip hinge, forward fold. Hands to the blocks. We're going to go ahead and kickstand our right leg towards the left hip crease, and then walk our blocks over in front of our pelvic, straightening out through the left leg, finding that warrior foot here. So we're going to start to work with a little bit of cooling poses here. So as we find the warrior diagonal with our left foot nice and flat to the mat, we're going to go ahead and rise up right above our right hip here, nice and straight to the ground. Going to find a little bit of this quad engagement to keep us stable here. On the next breath, we're going to inhale, rise, bringing our arms towards the ceiling. And just like we did in the full warrior, we're going to kind of go into a reverse warrior style here, bringing the left hand down the left thigh, and inhale, rise, start to lift up through the chest and bend over towards the left side of the room. Finding this active lift so that we still have space into the left side body as well. We don't just want to like hunch into the right side. We want to lift as we bend. Good. And then this time you'll start to feel it more connected to the front of your hip and to your front trunk. Good. Inhale, rise, both arms towards the ceiling. Bringing the right hand to the ground, keeping the left arm up, coming into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon variation. Left foot is flexed, the left arm towards the ceiling. If you wanted to make it a little more challenging, you could pendulum swing the left arm down and bring the left arm towards the front of the mat. Good. And the next breath, inhale, connecting the left foot back to the mat. We're going to walk our left hand down and over towards the corner of the left side, possibly grabbing your blocks if you need to, and coming into a downward facing dog, arms either at the corner, if it's more comfortable to be directly in front of your hips, you can come into downward dog, arms in front of your hips as well. Three more breaths. And then inhale, flip through the chest, walk your blocks towards your hips, and then go ahead and start to walk your blocks back to your left knee, starting to find this bend here, coming back into the Anjaneyasana prep. And then from this Anjaneyasana prep, we're going to keep our blocks onto the mat, lifting up through the chest. As we lift through the chest, we're going to bring our hips back, coming into half splits here. So you can bring the blocks at any appropriate height that will help lift up through the spine and decrease any roundness throughout the thoracic spine. Toes can be flexed forward or up towards your face. Engage through the quads. And you can stay here, or if you wanted to come into a hip hinge, you can walk your blocks forward, leading with your chest, tailbone back into a hip hinge. And opening up space into your lower spine and into your hamstrings will create more space for your spine to move. Good. On the next breath, inhale. Find that hip hinge, bend at the knees, Anjaneyasana prep. Take the blocks to the front of the mat here. Good. And then curl through the right toes, bringing your right knees up, coming back into a plank position. In this plank position, we're going to go ahead and bring the right knee forward, coming into the Anjaneyasana prep. Good. So dropping the left knee on the blanket, lifting up through the chest, grabbing the blocks so you can find a greater lift. And through your chest here, squaring through the hips. And then once you find this lift, decreasing the arch into your lower spine, you can then inhale, rise. Hey, buddy. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling. If you wanted to create a back bend, you're more than welcome to do that here. Bring up through the chest as we move back. The next inhale, come back into your Anjaneyasana prep. Grabbing onto the blocks here. And from here, we're going to walk the kickstand the left foot towards the right hip, and then walk over in front of your left leg, straightening up through the right leg, flat foot to the mat. Now, you're kind of seeing behind me here, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fix myself here. Nice. This works a little better. So as you have your blocks forward, you can then come up onto your hip. The left knee is down, rising up, both arms towards the ceiling. You know what to do from here. Slide the right arm down and inhale, laterally stretch the left arm towards the right side of the room. Keeping the lift through the chest. One more breath. Inhale, rise, both arms towards the ceiling. Let's go ahead and lower the left hand down. Right arm is lifted. Come into Ardha Chandrasana variation, half move. And if you wanted to try to bring the right arm towards the front of the mat, you're more than welcome to go ahead and experience this. On the next breath, inhale, right arm towards the ceiling. Bring the right foot back to the ground and go ahead and walk your hands back to your blocks here. And then bring the blocks forward, coming into a hip hinge. Bring your arms out like you would in downward facing dog for 3 breaths. Right. Inhale, halfway lift, and start to walk your blocks back to your right foot. Kickstand your left leg back into position. Finding yourself here at a half splits. Keeping your hands onto the blocks, chest is lifted. If you want to experience more of a hip hinge, you can just square the hips, bring your hips back, walk your blocks forward, leading with your chest straight, finding that figure 7 spine. Toes are forward or towards the ceiling as long as they're flexed and the quad is engaged. For 3 more breaths. Okay, you can go ahead and create a bend again with the left leg. Place the blocks to the side. Curl through the left leg, bring the right leg back into plank. As we're here into plank, we're going to go ahead and engage the core, drop the forearms here. Coming into a forearm plank. Heels are back. And go ahead and bring the feet into the center here and come onto the outer edge of the right foot so that we are here in a side plank. And it might be easier for us if we kickstand the right hand in. So our shoulder is above our elbow here. Engage through the core, lifting up the left hip towards the ceiling, and then rise left arm towards the ceiling as well. Creating the heat, find the core engagement, getting more to the side body. If you wanted to create more of a challenge, you can extend your left arm towards the front of the mat. 3 more breaths. Good. After your 3 breaths, you can then go ahead and bring the left hand back to the mat, coming into the forearm plank. And this time you can kick the left hand in, going onto the outer edge of your left foot and rising right arm towards the ceiling. Hips to follow. If you wanted to create more challenge, you can bring the right arm towards the front of the mat. 3 more breaths. Then bring the right hand back to the mat, going into your forearm plank. With your forearm plank, meet your thumbs and your index fingers to touch. And then bringing your chest down, tailbone up, dolphin plank. To bringing your hips up into the air. It's okay if our heels don't touch the ground. So this is like a forearm downward facing dog. Leading the chest down in between the shoulder blades. Hips towards the ceiling, engagement of the quads. If you need to pedal out one leg at a time, you can go ahead and find that here. If you need some movement, find some hollowing through the lower spine, tailbone up towards the ceiling. 2 more breaths. Coming into your forearm plank, knees to the ground, child's pose. Slowly rising up out of that asana into a kneel sitting position. We're pretty much near the end of our class today, or our flow session. So if you wanted to create a comfortable shavasana for yourself, you can grab either a regular pillow or a block if you have that instead. And you can tri-fold your blanket so it's like a rectangular blanket burrito, and place the top of the blanket, the top of the block, and allowing the blanket to be vertical because that's where your spine's going to be. You guessed it. So go ahead and find your spine onto the blanket here and using the block as a pillow. And go ahead and start to hug your knees in. Take it a couple breaths. Good. Grabbing onto your feet and coming into a happy baby. So tailbones onto the ground and the elbows or the knees are going in towards your armpits. And so you can start to guide your knees into your armpits. Maybe finding a little bit of movement side to side. If you wanted to, you can press your feet together and come into a reclined butterfly pose, bringing your knees outwards. Heels pressed into touch. Good. Very gently start to bring your knees in towards the center. Bringing your arms, inhale, rise above your head and point your toes to the front of the mat. A nice long body stretch and taking a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. We can do this 2 more times. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. And then 1 more time. Inhale through the nose. The longest stretch of the night. And then exhale, release. Placing the hands either onto your stomach, by your hips, wherever feels comfortable. Especially for us that may have a tight back, especially in a low spine. It might feel good for us if we place one ankle over the other. And then start to collect your breath. Nice and calming and gentle, and allowing yourself to stay here in your Shavasana. And then as you are lying here in your Shavasana, you go ahead and start to find these micro movements from your toes and your ankles, your fingers and your wrists. Allowing yourself to reawaken from your resting state. And then you can choose to stay here in your Shavasana, or if you wanted to, you can come, bend at the knees, start to stretch out through the arms, and very gently start to find yourself onto the side of your body, safely off your prop, and into a comfortable position, seated. And as you're in your seated position, you can bring your palms all the way up towards the ceiling, meeting back into your paired hands to the heart center. Or if you're on your spine, you can go ahead and meet them into the center, just so that we can share this exit with each other. As I thank you so much for joining today's session. as well as thanking yourself for taking the time to get onto this mat today. And peace and health to bestow for the rest of your night, for each and every one of your days. And namaste. Well, thank you everybody who has joined the 6 p.m. class. You are more than welcome to stay for the 7 p.m. as well. So I saw that a couple numbers have increased in the past couple minutes. So if you are here for the 7 p.m. class, just join in the next link. Other than that, thanks everybody. Thanks, Kim. I miss you so much. I love seeing all your little Instagram workouts. It's definitely motivating me on this side of the screen. So if you want to stick around, come to the 7 p.m. one. All right. I'll see you later, guys and gals.